Excellencies, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and welcome to the
Global
Global Town
Town
Hall
Hall, a
in
North-South,
North-South,
East-West
East-West
grassroots
Grassroots
dialogue.
Dialogue.
With the theme Sustaining Peace and Development in a Divided World, today we will have a full 15-hour discussion consisting of 10 high-quality, diverse sessions with over 50 speakers from across the globe, covering a wide range of topics, starting from geopolitics, climate, world economy, democracies, and many more. To view the full conference agenda, feel free to head to our website at www.gth2022.com.
Ladies and gentlemen, now in its third year, the Global Town Hall was founded and initiated by Foreign Policy Community of Indonesia. This year, FPCI is working together with Global Citizen as our co-organizer to bring you the Global Town Hall 2022, where we bring together world leaders, activists, and policy leaders to create connections and drive meaningful changes and conversation to create change around the globe.
We are proud to initiate this global grassroots virtual conference convened by a consortium of 35 international think tanks, 33 universities, 45 civil society organizations, accommodating a worldwide audience of over 7,500 participants coming from over 137 countries and counting around the world.
And that's right, we even have participants coming from Angola, Sierra Leone, Mali, Chad, Albania, Trinidad and Tobago, and many more. Thank you all for your enthusiasm.
The Global Town Hall would not be possible without the help of our sponsors and our partners. We would like to thank Golkar Institute,
Delegation of the European Union in Jakarta,
PT Kikoman Aku Food Indonesia,
PT Triputra Agro Persada Tbk, and thank you to our media partners, Mahaka Media Group,
Kompas TV,
Republika.co.id,
Kumparan,
CNN Indonesia,
Metro TV,
Metro Globe Network,
Liputan6.com,
and Texte dari HI.
and last but not least, Global Town Hall was supported by our knowledge partners,
Center for China and Globalization, China,
Center for International Studies Security and Strategy, Tsinghua University, China,
Club de Madrid, Spain,
Elbig Dorj Institute, Mongolia,
Foundation for Political, Economic and Social Research, Turkey,
Paris Peace Forum, France,
Perth US Asia Center, Australia.
and Youthtopia, Indonesia.
We would also like to give a big thank you to all of our institutional partners, our organizational partners, and our university partners from around the world.
Ladies and gentlemen, in a moment, we will listen to the welcoming remarks by the founder and chairman of Foreign Policy Community of Indonesia, Dr. Dino Patijalal. But before that, please enjoy the following video we have prepared for you on sustaining peace and development in a divided world.
Winter is coming. Recession, war, division, confrontation, brinkmanship, crisis. I don't know all the prescription for world peace and prosperity, but what I do know is that while governments may be in contention, there's always merit when civil societies find one another in peaceful and meaningful engagements. They may not produce consensus or compromise. In fact, they will disagree on many things. But we do hope that these connections and conversations will produce confluence of ideas, hopes, aspirations, and even solutions, and perhaps collaboration based on mutual understanding and mutual benefit for those who are engaged in it. Actually, our partner, Global Citizen, is very good at this action-oriented platform. Oftentimes the people can be more progressive than their governments. Sometimes the people can be more understanding than their governments. And always there is wisdom within the people that must be heard. For us, dialogue is not rhetoric, it's not theory. For us, dialogue is a remedy that must be put into practice. Dialogue is the best safeguard to heal a world that is divided and presently wounded. Governments may have power, but ultimately there can be no peace nor development without the will and participation of the people, the civil societies. So let's begin our conversations. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Dino, for your warm remarks. Now we would like to welcome the co-founder and Chief Policy, Impact, and Government Relations Officer of Global Citizen, Michael Sheldrick.
Voice? Suara, suara. Dia kedengeran nggak? Hah? Okay, okay.
While we still have some technical issues, we would like to continue on to the next agenda. Up next, we have keynote speeches by two inspirational presidents. To introduce them, I welcome Dr. Dino Patijalal back on the screen.
Thank you. I'm sorry about that. We will fix these technical issues and bring Mick back into our program. But I have the pleasure now to introduce a video message from President Jose Ramos Horta from the Democratic Republic of Timor-Leste, followed by a message from President Paul Kagame of the Republic of Rwanda. Thank you.
Hello, this is José Ramos Horta, President of Timor-Leste. Once again, I'm very pleased to be able to join this global appeal for sustaining peace and sustaining development. There is growing poverty around the world as a result, of the pandemic, aggravated by the Ukraine war launched by Russia, global recession, and the fact that for many years now, our traditional donor partners have drastically decreased their share of their GDP towards ODA. Ideally, for over many decades, the United Nations has recommended that major industrialized countries contribute at least 0.7% of their GDP to ODA. But starting in 2009, 2010, following the first economic financial meltdown with the subprime that happened in the United States, donor countries decreased significantly the ODA as a result of the global financial crisis. Then we had a refugee crisis in 2015. Most donor countries, development partners, again sacrifice ODA in order to meet other, what they consider priorities. As a result, impoverished countries, hundreds of millions of people around the world are seeing their lives shattered by the pandemic, by the war in Ukraine, by the spike in commodity prices, particularly food and other edible items. And yet, I have not seen any major decisions by the G20, G7 countries, to impose a freeze on interest of banking loans to highly indebted countries, to fragile states. In spite of the appeals made by me, by Professor Muhammad Yunus and many others, hundreds of global leaders, there has not been any significant move made by industrialized countries in freezing or canceling the debt to countries on the periphery. We see the situation getting worse and worse in the next few days, few weeks, few months, as a global recession will hit all of us. For this reason, I'm joining this appeal to appeal to individual civil society around the world, because there are millions of people who are well off, not only in the industrialized countries, but also in Asia, in Africa, and Latin America, individual families, third world banks, banks in Asia, foundations, universities. We can contribute, each of us, families, corporations, universities, to mobilize tens of billions of dollars, but specifically to improve the lives in developing countries with assistance going directly to the communities. The problem with ODA over the years is that very little of the money pledged actually end up benefiting those who need the most. Higher percentage of the ODA is actually spent on themselves, on the donor countries, on their consultants, on European, North American NGOs, on endless studies, studies on poverty, studies on malnutrition, studies on agriculture, fisheries, forestry, environment. The studies have been done already for many decades. And only 10%, 30% of the pledged aid actually reach the people of need the most. If we are serious, if we are honest about addressing the root cause of poverty, there has to be radical rethinking of the whole aid strategy, starting with empowering women in our developing countries, empowering youth in the developing countries, directly give them the financial tools in order to improve their agricultural output, their access to the market, access to clean water, education, etc. I thank you all for participating in this global forum.
Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, let me begin by thanking Dr. Dinopati Jalal for the invitation to speak with you today. No matter the size, economy, or military strength of a country, sustaining peace and development starts from within. 28 years ago, after Rwanda experienced its darkest moment, we had no choice but to rebuild from ground zero. Our starting point was developing strong national institutions to restore unity. This became the foundation for the stability that all Rwandans enjoy today. The journey has been long, but we did not travel alone. Through mutually beneficial partnerships, we have not only recovered, but contributed to conflict prevention and peace-building efforts in Africa and beyond. Our country's tragic history has taught us the dangers of sitting idly by as a nation and the people are being torn apart. As the world grows more interconnected, we must fight the urge to put our own interests first, without regard to to the common interest. After all, none of us is big enough or rich enough to face the world's challenges alone. We must cooperate and collaborate. Leadership, political will, and respectful dialogue will bring us durable solutions. But to see lasting change, everyone must have a seat at the table. On this, the Global Town Hall is leading by example. Regardless of nationality or profession, everyone is participating in constructive conversations. After all, the best path forward is to look at the people next to you and treat them as equals. I assure you, with this mindset, our world will be less fragmented. Once again, thank you for the invitation to speak. I wish you all productive discussions.
Thank you very much, President Ramos Horta and President Kagame, for addressing the Global Town Hall 2022.
Now we would like to welcome back to the floor the co-founder and Chief Policy, Impact and Government Relations Officer of Global Citizen, Michael Sheldrick.
Incredibly excited to partner and co-host this global town hall with you and participants around the world. We're looking forward to engaging with so many of you over the next 15 hours as we explore some of the most pressing issues facing our world and what each and every one of us can do to take action now. At this moment in time, we face an unprecedented confluence of urgent crises that demands the attention of world leaders. It's up to all of us to encourage them to act with unprecedented unity and hold them accountable for their promises. The necessity for unity comes at a perilous moment in history. The 2020s may well be the most consequential decade facing humanity in close to 100 years, for it is the actions our leaders take in this decade that will determine whether we avoid both catastrophic climate change and unimaginable conflict between great powers, and all the while avoiding hundreds of millions of people being pushed back into extreme poverty. But there is hope if we take action now, dramatic, urgent, all-in action to help people. We can improve people's lives. We estimate that it's still possible to lift 100 million people out of poverty by 2025 if we take action now. There's also room to hope, as seen in the actions and stories of global citizens around the world, whether it's a post, signing a petition. Every single action matters. Action embodies hope and signals possibility. So ahead of the climate talks in Egypt this coming week, we invited global citizens to share their experiences with climate change, and the result was overwhelming. For example, Francisco from Guatemala wrote about the urgent need for flood mitigation. Alou from Gambia called for action to overcome water scarcity, and Haring from Kenya urged action to help her community overcome crop failure. A narrative focused on pessimism and antagonism does not reflect nor connect with the hopes and aspirations of young people like Francisco, Alou, or Haring. The case for hope was eloquently put forth by a young woman, Brianna Fruin, who's a pioneering campaigner from Samoa and a recipient of this year's 2022 Global Citizen Prize. We're about to open the applications for that, so stay tuned. When receiving her prize earlier this year, Brianna shared her optimistic view that the climate crisis need not be the end, but the beginning. In her words, the beginning of an environmental renaissance that serves as a refresh for humanity. a refresh that consists of transformative action that brings together everyone from those communities on the front lines to those workers affected in the great energy transition to come. There are plenty more stories like Brianna already being told as a counterpoint to the narratives that all too often dominate discussions, and they need a larger stage to cut through at the COP27 climate talks in Egypt and the G20 summit next week in Bali. That's an important part of this global town hall and what it seeks to do in sharing ideas, inspiration, and tools to engage directly and take action. So please, as the next 15 hours unfold, take a look out on your screens, as during many of the panels, QR codes will pop up and be displayed, leading to related global citizen actions, which you're invited to take. Make sure you've downloaded the Global Citizen app now if you haven't, so you can take action. We need you to help us to drive action, not just in a moment, but daily. And we need to persist to help Haspat, a polio worker in Nigeria, Justina, a small-scale farmer in Zambia, and Nadingi, a student in India who dreams of becoming a doctor. Citizens of the world cannot afford to sit this one out. Thank you to all of you for joining. Thank you for not being a bystander, and thank you for committing to be part of this movement. You are an incredible force for change. Thank you, and let the Global Town Hall unfold.